Sure. Hi, my name is Jessica Gomez, and I'm a first-year PA student at UC Davis. And yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Melissa Ellis, and I'm a first-year PA student at UC Davis. We're actually roommates.
Did y'all know each other before school?
No, we didn't.
No, actually we didn't. So she's actually from LA, and then I'm from the Central Valley of California. And we kind of met each other on our UC Davis PA Facebook page. We were looking for a roommate, and she had made a post actually looking for a roommate. So I contacted her, and then we got to know each other over phone. But yeah, I didn't actually meet her until the day before school. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. We talked a little bit before this started, but I love the friendships and connections you make in PA school are so different just because it's a thing that you go through together that no one else will really understand. So I have my kind of three main girlfriends from PA school that just, I know that no matter what's going on in life or clinic, they're gonna get it because they are PAs too, and their moms too, and I have other friends who are not PAs, but they are my people who I know will understand. So I'm glad y'all have that. So you can take that forward. Okay, so how far into PA school are you guys?
We are in our fourth quarter right now.
We count the days.
I know. That's a good question. Sometimes I don't even know what day it is. We're in our fourth quarter right now of didactic, and we are actually going to be second years next quarter. So we're really excited for that. We'll be starting rotations in October. So we're almost done with didactic. Yeah. We're pushing through.
Yep, crawling through.
Yeah, it feels slow, but it flies by.
Yeah, It's crazy. Yeah, just what Jess said. You don't know what day it is or month it is, and then by the time I do figure out the day or month, I tell Jess, I'm okay, perfect. In 11 days, we're 3 months away from the quarter ending, yeah.
I know, it's really nice because I feel she always gives me dates. She's like, listen, Jess, we have 7 more days until our finals. We can do this. We'll get through it. And I'm like, you're so right. It kind of keeps me going because I don't think of things like that. I don't think ahead, but she definitely does with the dates. And I'm like, okay.
Gotta keep the countdown in mind.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit, and I want each of you to tell me kind of what brought you to the PA profession.
Okay, so what brought me into the PA profession? So when I was little, my little brother was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So my whole life, we've been in and out of EDs, going to see endocrinologists and everything like that. So medicine has always been a very big part of my life. And so I always knew I was interested in it. I just didn't know what field I wanted to go into. And then I started working as a medical scribe to kind of get my feet wet and see what field I wanted to pursue. And I found out about the PA profession. I fell in love with it. And I also saw a very huge need in helping the Spanish-speaking population. So I felt that I would be a really good addition to the PA profession. So I decided to pursue it, and it all worked out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jess killed it in the endocrinology unit.
It was my favorite, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, so my sister's actually a PA. She graduated 10 years ago, and my aunt was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And when she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, she had gone to a provider, and he had misdiagnosed her. And my sister was the one to diagnose my aunt with ovarian cancer, and kind of watching my sister diagnose my aunt and watching my whole family and my sister kind of be the providers for her, it just really impacted me to see how much she could have changed just one person's life. And that's what really kind of pursued me into the profession. She also worked in a urgent care that was in an underserved community. So I would shadow her from time to time, and I would see how much she would just give back to that community. So it was something I just totally saw myself in, and I Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really cool personal connection
Yeah.
to the profession. Do y'all feel like you're like back in an interview yet? Pretty much.
A little bit.
No.
What got you into the PA profession?
So my story is actually similar to yours, Jess. My sister had this like really weird, kind of crazy autoimmune disease growing up, and she's 3 years younger than me. And so we were kind of like in and out of doctor's offices too, and it's called FAPA. I don't know if y'all learned about that in peds, but it's an acronym, but they, when she was little, didn't really know much about it. And so she was kind of one of the first kids diagnosed with it, and she would have these really high fevers every month and just get really sick. And so we were always at the doctor, and I was very fascinated by it. I wasn't freaked out. I wasn't scared of it. But I just thought it was really interesting. And she had some really good doctors and some bad ones, but some good ones. And so that kind of got me into medicine. And then it was in high school when I found the PA profession. I don't know if that's the right word, but my dad ended up seeing a PA for just a cold. Like, went into the doctor, ended up seeing a PA, and he was like, "You need to do this." Like, she was awesome. She reminded me of you. I think this is a great career for you. And so it kind of put that bug in my ear. And once I did my own kind of soul searching, research, shadowing, all that stuff, I also felt like it was a really great fit, just with the amount of schooling, with the job itself, the teamwork component, kind of my personality fitting into that role. And so I just, freshman year of college, went all in and never looked back. So here we all are.
Awesome.
Living the dream, right? No, I'm just kidding. It's really hard, actually. All right. I accidentally see this career switch question. Y'all haven't made a career switch. But tell me a little bit about kind of your PA process. Like, we can make that simpler, but what part of the process did you find most difficult or most limiting?
Okay. Like, do you mean the application process, or?
Yeah, or just getting to the application process. There's so many steps to get there. So what was hardest for you?
I would say probably what was the hardest for me was just kind of making those connections, because I don't come from a family where there's like a lot of people in medicine. So I really had to, make a lot of those connections while I was a medical scribe. Thankfully, I was able to meet like 2 amazing PAs that are actually still my mentors and wrote my letters of recommendation, allowed me to shadow them and everything. So that was really awesome. I feel like that's the hardest thing about the process, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with that too. I know a lot of pre-PAs reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, I don't know who to shadow." They don't have those like medical professional connections. So just making that on the job, I think, is the hardest part. But then it's kind of easy sometimes, because it's like you work with them all the time, so they become your friends, and it's a lot easier to ask later on for some help. Yeah.
Did you ever have any negative experiences asking? That's something that comes up with the pre-PAs. They're like, I'm around these PAs, I am with them, working with them, talking to them, but I'm scared to ask them to shadow or tell them that I want to be a PA. And I'm like, just tell them. The worst that'll happen is they can say no. But did you have any of those fears or reservations?
I didn't, but I would say that I think maybe one thing that I found to be difficult is I did have a certain provider in mind to write a letter of recommendation for me, but however, he was like super busy, he agreed to it, and then it was just, I had to end up finding someone else to write it for me because it just wasn't happening. So that was definitely a little awkward situation, and it was a little difficult because I felt like, I was nice, but I was a little persistent, like, hey, my date's coming up to submit my CASP application. But yeah, I guess that's something that I came across that was difficult.
For me, I think the hardest part was one, finding a job that was like the clinical hours, you know, because you have to get paid for the clinical hours to count for majority of the schools. And that was difficult because I really wanted a job that was, yeah, like paid for the resume, but I really wanted it to actually impact me. So I feel like that was really difficult, and that took me like maybe a year and a half, 2 years to find the actual job that I was looking for. And I was a clinical research coordinator, and I had been looking for that job for like a year and a half because I really wanted to get into research. So I would say that's the hardest part. But I think if you're persistent, and it's just like exactly like not being scared of just networking. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail an interview. People are going to say no to you. But like, you really want it and you're just persistent, I think you'll find it. So I think that is really difficult. And I have a lot of PPs like Jess does too that reach out saying it's so hard finding a paid clinical hours, and that is one of the toughest parts. Another thing was I was a second time applicant, so getting in my second time, like the first time you just get crushed, you know, like that unknown area, getting rejected makes you start questioning, like, am I good enough? Do I even want to go to, like, do I even want this? Will I get in the next time? What happens if I don't apply the next time? But I think that I tell Jess this all the time. I'm so thankful for actually getting rejected that first time, because I think that 1 year, just every year that you go in a little bit later in your life into PA school, just having that maturity, having that growth helps you in school. And it kind of validifies for you how badly you want it. And I think rejecting and failing is a really good thing to just have in life to start embracing. So yeah, it sucked, but I think in the long run it helped me.
Yeah, it made you ready and made you appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, it made me appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, I want to ask a little bit more about y'all's experiences, because both of the ones you mentioned, medical scribe and being a clinical research coordinator, I may have messed that up. Those are ones that I get asked a lot because they are kind of in gray area, and it's somewhat school dependent on whether that falls into healthcare experience or patient care experience, just based on the title. I think once you dive into more of like the roles and responsibilities, a lot of times that clears up the definition a little bit more. But can y'all explain a couple things? So like what you did, and if you felt like it was a good experience, and how that impacted where you applied. Like if you found most schools were accepting of your experience, or some schools you had to mark off the list because it didn't fulfill their requirements.
Yeah, so as a medical scribe, there are definitely schools that I came across when I was looking to apply that I just couldn't apply to because they didn't have medical scribe as patient care experience. So that did limit my search a bit, but honestly, I feel like working as a medical scribe is an amazing experience, especially if you're someone that you're not really sure what profession you want to go into, whether it's like nursing, becoming an MD or DO, or a PA or NP. So you're really able to see like all those professions while you're working as a medical scribe, and really get to see the role of a provider. You also kind of get to understand their thinking process a bit, because you're constantly, you know, guessing what the next step is, and you know, the more you scribe, the better you get at it. You definitely learn how to write a really good soap note, which I'm really good at now, so I'm really thankful for that. I also know a lot of like the physical exam findings, you know, that's helped me a lot with PA school too, and then just a lot of the associated symptoms as well with certain diseases, that has helped me a lot. I would say one area that I do feel a little bit like not deficient in, because I know with time I'll get better, but a lot of my classmates are really good at clinical skills. For example, like putting in a catheter or drawing blood. I personally have never done any of that, but we have actually nurses in our class that are amazing at it, and we also have like EMTs and medical assistants and all that really have those clinical skills down. So I would say that's one area I'm weaker in, but I'm continuing to try to get better at it. Yeah.
You'll get better. I had never done anything like that either, because I was a CNA. But our EMTs and paramedics were amazing. Like, they basically taught our clinical skills labs. I mean, our teachers were there, but they don't do that either. And then But like, fun fact, I never drew blood on a single rotation, and I have not drawn blood since I learned how to in PA school. Isn't that awful? Like, I probably could if I had to, or I might would like YouTube it, but like I would probably try to defer because I mean I did it in class and that was it. So
Yeah.
like, not to say you're never gonna do that, but you may never do that. So
Actually, we have here for UC Davis as a first year, we're able to go to student run clinics. So a lot of the new skills that we learn, once we learn them, we can then practice them in the student run clinics. I personally haven't done it to a patient yet, but I've drawn blood for 2 friends.
there you go.
I think I need to get a little better because it seemed like they didn't really have a pleasant experience.
You tried. It's okay. I made like a grown man pass out, so it's okay. All right. What about you, Melissa?
So yeah, I was the clinical research coordinator. I think it was good because I got to have a one-on-one encounter with the patient. So like, we would work with upcoming trials of medications. So I was the one to kind of go over what the medication was and what side effects they'd have, and kind of go over, I'd get their history from them and an informed consent and do like their blood pressure, all that stuff. And then I'd send them off to the doctor, and I'd kind of be in the room with the doctor as well. So I liked the experience of just having the one-on-one. But yeah, like I didn't draw blood, but I did get to have the history, which I feel like is a really big, important thing to have, especially in this career, is the history. But yeah, I suck at drawing blood too. And I think schools were, when I was like at the interview, I think they liked what it was because it was research, something a little bit different. But I personally wish I was ER scribe because of just the experience that they get. Like, a lot of our classmates, I'd say at least half of them were emergency room scribes. And when they're familiar with the symptoms of the disease. Like, we'll be sitting in class and my friend Jess, anyone, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know those symptoms. I'm like, how do you know that? They're like, yeah, I've seen it in the ER. So I think it's, even if some schools don't accept it, I think it's a really good, I wish I really went into it. I think it helps with a little bit of exposure of just the language, the culture, and the terminology for sure. So, but I did enjoy my clinical experience because it was just something a little unique, but I do wish I was scribe, but you are scribe.
No, I think it's a great experience personally. And I think more schools are jumping on the bandwagon and realizing that too. I've seen it progress over the past couple of years, and it's becoming more favorable with schools for sure.
Yeah, I think our school, UC Davis, they're very fond of it. I think they look up to scribes, especially ER scribes. Like, in class, they talk about it. Oh, the scribes are so good at soap. The scribes are so good at this, that. So I think at least our schools, like, they look at it very highly. So
yeah. Okay. So I want to know how many schools y'all applied to, and then how many you interviewed at and got in.
Okay, so I applied to, I think it was 13 schools. I interviewed at 2. One was UC Davis, and then another one was in Colorado. I only got into UC Davis, and then I didn't get into the second school, so yeah.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
So the first year I had applied to only 3 schools because I didn't have enough prereqs at the time. And then the first year I only got an interview at Davis. And then the first year I got waitlisted at Davis. And the second year I just like had my heart set on Davis. Once I saw the school and I like kind of found out what they're about. The second year I only applied to Davis and I got into Davis, fortunately. But yeah.
Wow.
It was meant to be, yeah.
That's exciting and impressive. But I think that's also a good lesson for people. Like, if there is somewhere you really want to go, I mean, you have to kind of make a decision.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I, like, looking back, I guess it's just a matter of you really know what you want. And it was just like, I really just knew what I wanted. But yeah, I would recommend having all your options open if you can. If you have the prereqs and it's, you're in the area and place that you could, I'd recommend applying to more. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing what you want, I guess.
Yeah. At least trying for it. What was your plan if you didn't get in?
Honestly, I don't know. I was like, I was teaching at the time. I was teaching first grade in my gap year, waiting to hear back. And I was just like, I've always liked teaching and I've always worked with kids, so I was kind of torn in between both. So I was bouncing between both. So I was like, if I don't get in at that moment in time, I'll figure out if I just want to go into teaching or if I want to go and see how I feel and go back into doing more of the prereqs. So I was just kind of taking it day by day. And yeah, but I'm really happy that I fell here because I can't imagine not being in this program or in this profession.
Yeah. Okay, so what do y'all love about UC Davis?
I would say I definitely love the student-run clinics. That was a big draw for me. I feel like I really get to practice the interview experience with patients. So a lot of our clinics, they help the underserved communities in Sacramento, and we're super thankful for them. I mean, I feel like it's really preparing us for rotations. As of right now, because of the whole COVID situation, we're not able to actually go into clinic, but we have implemented telehealth. So I'm also practicing that as a first-year PA student, which is really, really amazing. And then the second thing I love about Davis is that, you know, during our orientation, I felt like they were very, very supportive. We really felt that this school really cared about us. They really emphasized self-care and mental health. They made sure that we made that a priority for ourselves and that our professors would be there if we had any hardships during the program. So that was really comforting, and a lot of our, you know, peers have experienced hardships during these times, and our school has definitely been there for them. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah. I also, what drew me in is that our program is like, I think it's the only program that has a combination of NP and PA. And unfortunately, this is actually the last year. Next year, they're splitting them up because the NPs are becoming DNPs rather than FNPs. So that drew me to know that like we're going to be 65 PAs and 22 NPs just learning alongside each other. And I thought that was super cool to have, you know, nurses are in your study group, nurses are in your class. And I love that. And even now, like one of my very good friends I always study with, he's a nurse, and I always ask like, what does this word even mean? Or, you know, just having that. So I really like the interprofessionalism that the school had. Also what Jess was saying, like the mental health is a huge thing for me. And they have like a very big well-being center. And our school, we actually get to have a therapy session complimentary every 2 weeks for every single student. So I thought that was really important because I'm very expressive and stuff. So I utilize it, and it's very helpful because you just get so, you don't even have like, it's hard to just sit down and give yourself an hour of time. And for the school to really be caring about our well-being is like so important because sometimes you forget to take care of yourself.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, those are the things I feel like you don't always like know about or hear about with schools, or like you can't necessarily get out of looking at a program website. So that's really helpful to have y'all here say that. How is the program set up? Like, how long is it? How many students? Well, you just told me that, but.
So our program is 27 months. And then we're in a didactic for about a year, and then I think our second portion, we just do rotations. We're very heavy on like primary care rotations as well as serving the underserved communities here in Sacramento. We do have like some cool rotations like rural rotations.
We had this one in the wilderness or something. It was like a 2-week wilderness rotation.
Yeah, learn some survival skills, you know.
Nice.
But unfortunately, that one actually got canceled because of the whole COVID thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're very heavy on like lab, like Jess was saying. We have the student-run clinics. You kind of do that on the weekend, and that's really helpful because you're seeing your own patients. But also in school, like we're very heavy on lab. Like every week we have something, and every week we have something in lab that we're learning. So. But yeah, we're 65 PAs, 22 NPs. We have a pathophysiology course, pharmacology course, and then the clinical lab. And then the fourth class, every quarter kind of changes, but I would say it's like a public health course. So one quarter was like health informatics, where we learned.
Well, we learned about a lot of like this disparities kind of in our community. Just how I personally never knew this, but there's like food deserts for a lot of the people in the Sacramento community. So we learned a lot about that and how those factors can really affect, your patients that you're going to see every day. It's not very easy to tell your patient like, hey, you need to eat a well-balanced diet and stay away from salt, fried foods, when the closest place for them for access for food is like a McDonald's down the street. And if you don't have a car, you can't drive, walk 10 miles to the nearest grocery store. So those classes were actually really helpful.
Yeah.
It made me aware of a lot of social problems just in the world, and like things that I have to think about as well every time I see a patient. It's not as easy as telling them to fix their diet, and it's not that they don't want to. It's usually like just limited resources and they're not able to access them.
Yeah. We also learned, I think within those classes, we also learned about insurances, like how insurances on the insurance side and how the insurances impact the patients. So it was cool to kind of get that little twist in and see different perspectives.
Yeah, that's interesting. We definitely didn't learn about insurance when I was in PA school. But we actually didn't really learn about anything administrative too much. But we had a local clinic too. And I think getting to be in the community as a student is really helpful, for sure.
Yeah.
So what has been your hardest class so far?
I would say the patho, just because there's certain blocks that are easier than others. I would say, well, actually we talk about this all the time. We say the hardest blocks like endocrinology, cardiology, and renal, we are spending every single minute of our day studying for that exam. We're having such a tough time understanding the material, but those are actually the best, most scored, which is kind of funny. But I guess just the medicine part, it's a lot. You need to understand the pathophysiology, the disease course, and the treatments, and what physical exams you need to do. That's definitely tough, but I feel like it's fun, That's why we want to be PAs. We want to learn about medicine, but it definitely is tough during times.
Yeah. For me, pharmacology was really tough in the beginning. Mm-hmm. It was different language. I was like, what is happening? All the pathways. And then once I got adjusted, I love pharmacology now. It's my favorite. But pathophysiology is still something I just oh my god, but it's challenging, and I'm it's a challenge, but I like it. But for me, patho is tough because every unit, so every 2 to 3 weeks we're in a different unit. Every unit, the IOR changes. So every unit, a specialist that is specialized in that unit will come teach that unit, and they'll write the exam. So what's hard is that it's constantly changing. The formatting of the test, the way with pharmacology it's consistent, so we kind of have understood okay, how does this professor ask, what does he want? But with patho, it's after every exam, I always tell Jess, this example, I come home, I'm I don't know what just happened, but we gotta pass. But I guess it keeps you on your toes, and it's good because every unit I kind of have to change how I study, so it keeps me moving with the change.
Yeah, no, I feel ya. Some of those different lectures are interesting. But what study, either methods or resources, have you found work well for you in PA school? And are those the same or different than what you've used previously in undergrad or even, other classes?
Yeah, so for me, it works best. I work best in groups. So I need to talk it out. I need to see it. I need to hear it. I need to talk it out. Someone will teach each other, and then we'll, be okay, quiz me now. So I need to kind of be stimulated, and then also writing it out helps for me. So I have a whiteboard, I'll write it out, but working in groups probably works best for me, and videos have been super helpful. In undergrad, I went to undergrad at UCLA, and I was a sociology major, so I was only writing. Everything was kind of like writing and oral presentations. So I guess it's changed because now it's the complete opposite. It's multiple choice questions. So for me, that transition, especially the first quarter, I was like, I haven't taken a multiple choice question in like 4 or 5 years. So that was really tough for me to kind of have to transition into that, but I did it. But yeah, I did kind of keep that talking and collaborated it into here.
Nice. Yeah. So the resources that I use to study are kind of like videos as well. I use osmosis. I feel like that's really helpful. I feel like Pants Prep Pearls as well for like the didactic portion. I also like the group setting too. I feel like I find it really helpful, but I'm kind of like that studier where it's like I have to process everything myself first and like kind of understand and go through what I don't understand in my head and then find out what it is. And then I feel like the group reviews, like before tests, like I've like learned new little mnemonics from my friends. I'm like, okay, like every time I'm taking a test, I can hear their voice.
The mnemonics are helpful.
I feel like that's really helpful for me because it's like sometimes I'm not very creative with these things, and I hear like Melissa say something, and I'm like, okay, it sticks in my head a lot better now.
I make all these like stories, you know, like there's a medication that has a lot of side effects. Okay, Jess, so this girl has so that helps me too.
Yeah, that's definitely very helpful.
Nice. Okay, so what rotation are you looking forward to the most?
I would say I'm definitely looking forward to endocrinology just because it's very close to my heart. And that's something I see myself going into as a future PA. Probably not right away, but I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for my ED rotation because as a scribe, I worked in the ED, and I mean, I'm not familiar with it as a provider, as being the one, you know, calling the shots, but I'm definitely excited for those 2 rotations.
I'm super excited for surgery, and I also requested for derm. I'm super interested in derm. I like it a lot. So I'm super excited for both of those. And yeah, I'm like, all my friends' pimples, I just pop, like any rash or fungus in the skin. I don't know, I guess I'm hands-on, so I like surgery for that sense, and I like derm for that sense.
Yes.
So
yeah, derm is very what's the word? Like instant gratification. Maybe not instant, but like you can see a result, and patients appreciate that, versus when you make their blood pressure better, they're kind of like, I look the same and I feel the same. So they do appreciate when things get better.
Oh yeah, I think derm also has a huge psychosocial aspect to it, you know? So yeah, maybe some aspects of it, it takes a little bit more time, you know, on their skin, a few weeks, a few months, but that change you're making in that patient's life because of just their external is just, I think the psychosocial aspect of it is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very, very rewarding. I mean, we see some hard stuff too, but yeah, no, it's really great. I'm supportive of anyone who wants to be a derm. I will say though, I did an endocrinology rotation, and I chose it for 2 reasons. Number one, they would let me go on a mission trip for a week as part of it, which was fine. Like I got to go with the med school. But then also it was the class I hated the most, or one of them. I like did not like endocrinology. I was like, I don't like this. This is lab medicine. It's not interesting. And so I was like, okay, the best way for me to learn it, to actually understand it, will probably be to do a rotation. And I ended up loving it. Like, I loved it. Like, they offered me a job, and I might would have taken it if I hadn't already taken my derm job. So yeah, people shouldn't discount endocrinology because it's actually really interesting. So you already know that, but I feel like everyone else, people think derm is boring. They think all these things are boring, but they're actually not. They're really cool. So that's my little 2 cents. All right. Well, where can everyone kind of find y'all and follow along on your PA journeys?
You can find me on Instagram at JessThePA_.
And you can find me on Instagram at Melissa Ellis. That's my Instagram, and you can message me on that. I love helping any PA students too.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely send some people y'all's way, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Savannah.